Well, hello and welcome to this video. And I want to start by asking you a question. Do you ever feel like you continually attract the same self-absorbed, controlling partners in your life? It's like out of one relationship into the next, you're like, I'm never doing that again. And then somehow you're doing that again. Trust me, it doesn't even have to just be romantic partners. It could also be siblings, people that you work with, bosses. Maybe you just endlessly attract self-absorbed, controlling, narcissistic bosses. So you are not alone if you are nodding your head yes. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the traits of being raised by a narcissistic parent, because a lot of times that sets us up to repeat. So I'm going to explain that whole entire process, and then I'm going to be sharing the 5 key red flags to look out for in your dating life so you can stop repeating these hellacious relationships. So, hey, before we get started, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please do hit the bell, because I release new stuff every single Tuesday to up-level your quality of life, and I wouldn't want you to miss anything. And if you're new here and you don't know me, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and I wrote a book called Boundary Boss, which is right there, and you can get that at boundarybossbook.com. And we're coming to the end of what I call Real Love Revolution season, because the course starts tomorrow. So that's my 12-week virtual coaching course all about healthy love, self-worth, effective communication, how to create boundaries, and I'm doing it with hundreds of people from all over the globe, but you are being led by me live, because we do weekly Q&A calls live. I'm so excited. It's one of my signature courses and one of my favorite to teach. So if that sounds good to you, go to terricole.com/RLR. It's not too late to join us, and I would love to see you on the inside. Okay, I also want to highlight a comment from someone, because you guys are so good to comment and I super appreciate it. So this is from Tracy under the context or convincing video that I have here on YouTube. And Tracy says, I simply just want to say how grateful I am to have found you. You hit the nail on the head over and over, and I think you have such invaluable information in helping us understand ourselves better so that we can live more authentically and purposefully. Many thanks. Well, I say many thanks to you, Tracy, because I am super psyched that you are part of my crew. All right, so let's dive into today's content. If, you may not know if you have a narcissistic parent, and that's not the only reason why we attract narcissists, but it is a big one. So how can you tell if you do? So I'm just going to give you some bullet points so that you can really start to get a clear picture of whether you did or didn't have a narcissistic parent. Do they utilize, or did they, right? Do or did they utilize emotional blackmail, right? So playing the guilt card to their advantage, just making you feel like crap. They want control over your behavior, and it's sort of like doesn't matter how they have to do it. So blackmail, guilt, all of that is within the realm. They can be very punishing, where if they don't like what you've done, if you haven't done what they've wanted, they will withdraw love from you. Certainly, if you have a narcissistic parent, their love is for sure super duper conditional, where they'll give you the silent treatment if they don't like what you're doing. And that is so painful, especially when you're a child, because we need our parental impactors, as I call them, because it may be an aunt, could be a foster parent. We really need them, because it's not like at 7 years old, you're going to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to hitch a ride and move out and get my own apartment, because you're not. So as children, we were the ultimate captive audience, which means that we get really good at figuring out how not to be punished by the people who have control over us, which are our parental impactors, whoever they are. A narcissistic parent is also very competitive with their children, or some of their children, may not be all, but in a way that healthy parents are not. It is so unnatural, if you are not a narcissist, to be in competition with your children. It's like you want your kids, healthy parents want their kids to do better than they did. You're like, please, out everything us. That means we did a good job. If you are more successful, if you make more money, if you have more skills, just more for us to share with other people about you. You know, with narcissistic parents, they're competitive. And even in painful things, you may be talking about some painful experience that you had, or maybe you were in a relationship and the person broke up with you, and they're kind of like, yeah, well, when that happened to me, it was so much worse. So they're in competition to be better than you at things and to also have had more extreme experiences than you've had. But of course, in all of this, what does that mean? It means that that parent is not taking you in. Everything in that relationship sort of references back to them. They also could lie. I mean, narcissistic parents could just lie. So this makes it very confusing. Lie about their accomplishments, lie about what happened, lie about reality, right? Like you're remembering it wrong. And as a kid, it makes it very difficult to know what is real. If you are in that situation with a parent who will just bold-faced lie again to get their way, to win, to be the victor, it's really so incredibly depressing to be on the receiving end of that. Another thing with narcissistic parents is that they lack real empathy. Now, with narcissists, it's been said, and I believe this to be true, that because empathy is broken into different categories, there's something that's called cognitive empathy, which means that a narcissist has the ability to put themselves like in your shoes, but they do it to their own advantage. Like it's not that they're feeling your feelings or feeling bad about what's going on for you. It's another manipulation tactic. So that's just something to be aware of, because I've had therapy clients who were talking about their parents, and I'm pretty sure that either their maternal or paternal impactor is a narcissist. And they're like, no, but they really, they really are compassionate. They really have empathy. And I'm like they get me. I'm like, they don't though. They get you and then they use it against you, which of course I let the client come to on their own. But it can look a lot the same. But cognitive empathy is not the same as emotional empathy. It's used in a crafty way if someone is a narcissist. They can also be sadistic, which is horrible if you're a kid. Just taking something that you've told them in confidence and using it against you, telling someone else about it. Like clearly, narcissistic parent cannot be trusted. But as a kid, like you don't know that. You were like ever hopeful as children because we so desperately, we need them, but also we just are hoping that this time it'll be different, right? This is just what we're hoping for. They do a lot of triangulating, which is one thing I just said about telling someone else about something, right? But they center themselves in your other relationships, your friendships, whatever it is that you have going on. They make themselves somehow the center. Because here's the thing with narcissists, they can be incredibly charming. There's that cognitive empathy again, right? Where you might have friends or people who are like, your parents are so cool, or your mom or your dad or whomever. They're so funny because they could be super charming, great storytellers, like that's possible. But again, think about it. It is not appropriate for one of your maternal or paternal, your impactors, the adults in your life, to center themselves in your teenage friendships or in your you're in your 20s, those friendships. It's really not. Parents should have their own friends. Kids have their own friends. It doesn't mean you don't have a maternal. I had a very maternal relationship with my children's teenage friends, right? And now too. But I wouldn't be like, hey, want to go to a movie? You know what I mean? It's not about that. But they will get involved in a way, especially narcissistic mothers, where they'll call up your friends. They will reveal information that will get you in trouble with another person. So it's really damaging stuff. Denying your reality and gaslighting, which I'm going to talk a little bit about after this. Super duper thin skinned is another thing. Can't handle criticism at all. Will just, blow every little thing you say. If they even perceive it slightly as criticism, it's like you cannot confront a narcissistic parent about the ways that they hurt you or harmed you or with any kind of criticism, because they will just ratchet it up to the point where it's completely not worth it. And they're also boundary destroyers. So any boundary that you try to put in place, it's really, they will not respect it. If you ask them to respect it, if you try to put a boundary in place, if you want to, even if you want to go no contact as an adult with a narcissistic parent, if it's that bad or if they're that toxic, it's like they will try to go around you. They will reach out to people in your life, your boss, your coworkers, like really not letting you go, basically, because they don't have the ability to respect what you want. Because as a child of a narcissist, if they are really a narcissist, you are just an extension of them in their eyes. So your accomplishments are not really your own. They're their accomplishments. It's just more bragging rights for them, right? To somehow be like, well, you got all of that talent from me, Again, it's so incredibly painful to have this experience, but then it's so repeatable, because when we grow up, these are the models of behavior we saw. And a lot of times, if you had a narcissistic parent, you become actually very empathic. You become very tuned in to other people's feelings and emotions. You could be a highly sensitive person, an empath, and you could also be incredibly kind, right? Because you've had this experience of living with someone who can be incredibly unkind. Now, it doesn't mean that some people won't also repeat the emotional manipulation behaviors, because that happens as well. But what I find in my therapy practice and in the courses that I teach, and why I focus quite a bit on this, and why I teach Real Love Revolution and Boundary Bootcamp, is because I find that the people who are drawn to my work are more of the people who identify as an empath than as a narcissist. And I don't think really that you're going to see a narcissist be looking to better themselves anytime soon, because they really think that everyone else is the problem, not them. You know what I mean? So in the dating world, I'm going to give you 5 tips, and don't worry, I created a guide for you that goes along with this episode. terricole.com/guide is where you can find it. If you're in a relationship right now and you're like, I don't know, how can I tell? When you're in the dating scene, if you are, I'm going to give you, these are 5 telltale red flags for someone who's most likely a narcissist. So let's start with gaslighting. If someone continuously sort of rewrites your experience, has their own selective memory, but the real thing is they specifically make you wrong in what happened. Like, what are you, nuts? That's not the way it went down. Why are you like that? Why are you so difficult? Are you crazy? Right? Those types of things. And it's so much of the time, it's about you misremembering their behavior, especially if you're trying to call them out. They'll be like, that's not the way it happened at all. What are you talking about? So there's really no talking to them. Gaslighting is an incredibly scary manipulation tactic, but it's very popular amongst narcissists. Another second of the 5 is devaluing you. A real narcissist won't be able to really support anything you do outside of the things that positively impacted them. So if you have a great opportunity, but it would inconvenience them because it would take you away from them, they will only be so supportive of that. They will sort of let you know that they're not that into you doing whatever it is. Again, they're devaluing. Instead of valuing you and your opportunities, It's like they want to keep you small, and they may even remind you of past failures because they want you to be dependent on them, to not be able to live without them, of course. But it's dangerous to be dependent on a narcissist because they are not emotionally trustworthy. The third thing is that they're literally always the victim. That's them. So consistently, even when they harm you somehow, and if you've been in a relationship with someone like this, you will know what I'm talking about. You could go in to be like, I'm so pissed, I'm going to tell them they did this, they did that. And somehow at the end of that conversation, you find yourself apologizing. And you're like, wait a minute, how did we get here again? They're so crafty. And if you're an empathic person and they're like, you hurt my feelings, they start to cry, you're like, wait, I did? What? How did? So it makes us very vulnerable to the emotional manipulation because you're not a narcissist, right? You're not like them. The fourth red flag is being super controlling. They don't want you to do stuff without them. They really want to have a say in everything that you do, know where you are, just a lot of control. A lot of times they are alienating you from other people in your life. They don't like your friends. They don't like your family. They don't want to spend time with them. And slowly but surely over time, you can become incredibly isolated in a relationship with a narcissist. And the last of the five, and listen, there are many more. I only picked five for you to look out for because these are really telltale signs of a narcissist. They're definitely in every narcissist playbook, is blaming, right? They can never take responsibility. They're always distracting and deflecting responsibility onto other things. They'll somehow flip the script back on you, as I said before, where you end up being like, wait, so that's not how it happened? Did I misremember it? It's just so crazy making and exhausting. And if they can't blame you, they'll blame someone else. But it's always someone else's fault. If something goes wrong or if you're upset about something, they never can take responsibility and don't apologize, at least not sincerely, right? So I hope that this was helpful. If you are in a situation where you feel like you are dating a narcissist, I've got lots of other stuff on my other episodes of this show about what to do, how to manage it. If you think that you'd like to hang out with me and a bunch of other amazing human beings from all over the world for the next 12 weeks, I would love for you to think about checking out Real Love Revolution. It's really a masterclass in yourself and in relationships, communication, boundaries, sex, joy, self-care, love. Because really, when we get on down to it, self-love is the only path to any other kind of healthy love, any other kind of love that's worth having, really has to come from our relationship with ourselves being good. So the course itself is based on my 5 pillars of self-mastery, which is self-awareness, self-knowledge, self-acceptance, self-compassion, ultimately self-love and self-mastery. So I would love to see you on the inside. If that's interesting to you, go to terricole.com/RLR. I hope to see you tomorrow. In the meantime, if you like this, share it in your world. I hope that it added value to your life. And as always, take care of you.